Jared Goff, who has popped up on everybody's radar. Stick said this a couple weeks ago. I don't have to go and preach the gospel anymore. It's already resonated. You guys are now doing it for me. Everybody now, and it's gone national. It started here, and it started to swell. And then the NFC North had to start to get on one knee and bow their heads. And now the NFC is starting to do that. And now the NFL and sports world, all across the spectrum, even one Stephen A., our old friend, Broder's old friend, his nemesis, he's even saying, you know what? As I'm sitting here looking at everything right now, that brother's MVP. Jared Goff.
Jared Goff. It's funny because the last game, you look at the fact that he only had to throw 85 yards, and it wasn't necessarily the one where he had the most impact, but what it was it's a continuation of the excellent season that he's having, and it's a continuation of this stretch of about 5 games where he's been damn near perfect. And right now, as it stands, Jared Goff is first in completion percentage, first in yards per attempt in the NFL, second in quarterback rating, and the Lions have the number 1 scoring offense, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Jared Goff is playing the best football of his life without a shadow of a doubt. But one thing that was discussed amongst myself and a couple of people at the watch party, because this was during the post game when I wasn't on camera, is did this game help or hurt Jared Goff in the MVP race? And to me, in my opinion, it helped because he moved up on my MVP ballot. If Flannel Sam had to make one, he moved up on my list. He is now, to me, he was 3rd last week in my list, and this week he is 2nd. And this is where the MVP race is something in which you have to nitpick, and it sucks.
Do you mind sharing who's first real quick?
Josh Allen.
Okay.
The Baltimore Ravens lost, and it wasn't Lamar Jackson's fault in the slightest, but we're talking about the MVP. You got to nitpick a little bit, and to me, that is why Lamar Jackson is 3rd and Jared Goff passed him. And I understand that it's a lot different circumstances, and it will be one of the easiest performances Jared Goff will have in his entire career, but you know what? They won. He played clean, didn't have to do a whole lot, and when you just look at the numbers that he's put up, it's staggering. I know most of us, I'd say all of us to some extent, were confident in what he could do and be the quarterback of this team when they win a Super Bowl, but I don't think anybody expected MVP level performances, especially after how the season started. After the first couple of weeks, Jared Goff wasn't playing his best, but now you can make a real argument that if the season ended today, he would be number 1.
And honestly, his efficiency and how this Lions offense has been playing is the reason why I believe he doesn't have even more stats. We've seen that when the Detroit Lions have had to get into a shootout, they've been able to get into a shootout. And he's been able to go the whole game doing that. That Chargers game just always sticks out. Yeah. And I love the way that they just kind of put belt to tail with some of these teams in like halves, especially the Oakland Raiders game, which was kind of like the end of that current regime that they had at the time. And now you got Pierce and his regime in there. And it's, man, what I want to make sure is always stated when we talk about a Jared Goff and his candidacy is this. There's no Aiden Hutchinson. They lost several players on the defensive line. The offensive line has not been necessarily what we have known it to be, and Jared Goff has continued stellar play. And if anything, setting new records, showing okay, all right, sweet. So you've had a perfect half, which, wow, our quarterback did that. But then you had a perfect game as well. While we're winning, you're contributing to winning. And the reason why your stats aren't like 400 or 300 or 320 is because realistically, you're so efficient. The offense is doing what it has to do. And then you got running backs that can at any point in time, and this is not hyperbole or over-exaggeration, they can go literally for 20 or 30 yards every single time. Every time I see Jahmyr Gibbs line up in the backfield, I am now never shocked if I see him get 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards. I'm cheering, but I'm not shocked anymore.
Honestly, the best compliment I can give to Jahmyr Gibbs to further on that is that I'm shocked that last week was his first 70-yard run of his career. Because he is just, when you talk about explosive.
Oh, for real? I thought I'd seen that before.
When you talk about explosive running backs, it starts and ends with Jahmyr Gibbs being at the top. It just does. And to go back to the whole Jared Goff thing, yeah, he's been absolutely spectacular this season. And I'm actually, when you talk about the whole Aiden Hutchinson thing, I was devastated when it happened. I think most Lions fans were devastated, and I would give anything on earth for him to be back on that field healthy, including my own leg. I would give it to Aiden Hutchinson if that meant he could get back on the field healthy. However, when you talk about MVP and you talk about narratives, if the Lions end the season with the best record in the NFL, regardless of if they sign somebody or not, and you can point to Jared Goff in this offense overcame an Aiden Hutchinson season-ending injury, that is some really, I would say, a fodder for the narrative, which, and rightfully so, by the way, it does make everybody's job on the team harder. So wish Aiden Hutchinson was here, but if you want Jared Goff to get some extra narrative points, then why not make something good out of a bad situation, right?
How baller is this guy?
and first or last.
And did you see Kristen Goff's costume as well?
I'm sure she looked good in it. I'll just say that.
He has a wife.
I do have a wife. But my wife would even let me have that as somebody that I had a crush on for
That's
sure.
a real one.
100%.
That's a real
100%. Not a hall pass, but
No, I get you.
But yeah, she
I love the
what's understood don't need to be said. I got you. Shout out my baby Shy at home.
All of us on the show is just looking at Flannel like
respect.
Yeah, it's I get it, man. But you know what? Jared Goff right now, the rhythm that he's in, I don't even know how we explain it, because generally when we see these types of runs, it's from the quarterbacks that people associate with having the bigger arm or being flashier or being mobile. This guy just locks in and does what he has to do. And how true now? I got to call it a prophecy. Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell and and Brad Holmes have consistently said this, even when people laughed at it. I remember when we first made the graphic and what people did. When they said, we believe Jared Goff can make any throw we'd ask him to. We think he can. And then Dan Campbell said, we believe that Jared Goff can make any throw.
Yeah.
And it was just we made those graphics. People laughed. People said, y'all know what y'all doing. And to a large degree, we kind of did. Because we didn't really know what we were getting. And all he's done is proven them right. They looked us in the face and said these things seriously. And now we see what Goff is doing, and I think it's a little difficult sometimes to just be you know what? The guy is what he is. You know what? For whatever his superpower, I don't care how boring the game may be, the results are just what they are. If it's gold in the end, it's gold in the end. That's been Jared Goff.
Go ahead, KG.
Yeah, and people don't want to give him enough credit for elevating his game. I'm looking at his stats right now. Jared Goff is a 65.1% completion percentage for his career, right? Guess what he's doing this year?
74.
74.1. Now, guess what the highest completion percentage in a season is?
67.
74.4.
We're talking about a season in NFL. I thought you said his.
Yeah. No, but
did not think the highest was 67. Just
no,
to be clear.
but no. But yeah, 74.4 is the highest completion percentage in a season. That was done by Drew Brees in 2018. Ooh. Jared Goff is on a pace. He's playing the most accurate football we have seen in quite some time, and maybe ever. And we just got to be real about it. I think he's the MVP right now. I mean, he went 12 for 15 in this last game, even though he had under 100 yards. Still hella good completion percentage. But the fact that they normally give the MVP to the best quarterback on the best team, and I think it's arguable right now that the Lions are the best team in the NFL. You can argue the Ravens, but I would say defensively they have taken a step back, which is crazy considering all the athletes they have. I think Jared Goff is right up there. If you still want to put Lamar Jackson there, I can't necessarily sweat you because of what he can do with his legs and how he improvises plays. But on that same token, Jared Goff is the best quarterback on the best team in the NFL, and he is showing you that.
JB, can you put a poll up, man? Who people believe that the first half MVP is, if it's Jared Goff or not?
I got you.
Well, let me ask you this, KG, because you mentioned Lamar Jackson, and I think the reason people got upset with me last time we did this list is because they maybe thought I was overly glazing every other player and maybe not doing the same to Goff. But I'm not gonna do that today.
Right?
Am I way off in having Josh Allen number one?
I don't think you're way off because, like I said, I got to give it to you, Pause. You said you predicted this with Josh Allen. You said that he would be that guy that would be able to make receivers, and I personally had never seen that, so I just had to see it. And so far, so good. They just got Amari Cooper, which is a thumbs up for them. But ultimately, he's done it on his own throughout the whole year, and he hasn't had a turnover. At least I don't think did he have a turnover?
One.
He had one. Okay, but before that, he had no turnovers, double-digit touchdowns, and he does it on the ground and with his arms. So, I mean, I don't think it's the worst take in the world. I would just argue that the Bills are just not the best team when comparing the Lions and the Ravens to them.
When it's all said and done, it might play out that way. They are 6-2 right now, but I'll that's my little Josh Allen sidebar. I'll get back on Goff because something was brought up about Drew Brees having the highest completion percentage in a season of all time, which isn't surprising, by the way, considering how efficient he was even during his prime in those last couple of years in New Orleans. You mentioned how Jared Goff, at least, which is funny to say because he was a number 1 overall pick, he doesn't necessarily wow you with his arm talent or his mobility or anything like that. With Jared Goff, his superpower right now, at least how it's been elevated being in like year 3 of this same system, is his mind and his timing with his receivers. And he's also gotten a little bit more savvy in the pocket, by the way, which maybe was another level he needed to get to. And when you talk about his brain, when you talk about his timing, when you talk about his decision making, that to me sounds like Drew Brees. That to me sounds like Tom Brady. And I'm not saying that Jared Goff is those guys yet.
But Dan Campbell is the one who started the narrative of comparing Jared Goff to some aspects of Drew Brees, because he said, I was around Drew Brees. We all know that he's from that Sean Payton tree, so I don't believe that that's unfair. We understand that Drew Brees didn't necessarily jump off the charts for measurables, mobility, and such. He just got the job done, and at the end of the day, you couldn't argue with it. A Super Bowl helped him, though.
Sure, I mean, and that's the thing. It's an archetype. It doesn't mean that Jared Goff has to obviously accomplish more and he'll never be Tom Brady, obviously, in terms of accomplishments, because the only one who I think can be is Patrick Mahomes. That's another story for another day. But in terms of an archetype for a quarterback that can make more of the throws than you think that he can, but also it's with his brain, it's with his ability to know the system, be in sync with his wide receivers. And with Tom Brady, he became, as his career went on, excellent at he was one of the most mobile, non-mobile quarterbacks you'll ever see, with just his ability to manipulate the pocket, step up, avoid sacks, and that's what you're seeing from Jared Goff. So I'm not saying Jared Goff is Tom Brady. It's just you can be a dominant Super Bowl winning quarterback, Super Bowl MVP winning quarterback, while not necessarily having the physical gifts as, say, like the Mahomeses and the Allens of the world. That's more what I meant when it's
and
the
you
archetype.
know what word I loved that you used there is superpower. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, Goff has a superpower, whether it looks like Superman's or not. He got one. Maybe he just is the Batman out there. Maybe it's, he's not working with what everybody else has as it relates to what they believe might be a certain arm strength or arm slot or arm angle or speed or this or that. Maybe he's just going out there, like we've seen the Lions doing, and beating the F out of people's faces with his bare hands. Yeah. He's just getting the job done. That's what I'm talking about. So it's like, at this point in time, this isn't where my opinion started with Jared Goff. This is what he's earned. Like, at this point in time, obviously there's one more step in the pedestal, and that's winning a Super Bowl. But up to this point, there's not a lot that I can state about Jared Goff because he's producing. And he's doing it at a historic clip right now.
If they win the Super Bowl, as I've said, Jared Goff is going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And honestly, the way that he's putting up numbers, and this is just a hypothetical, I'm obviously knocking on wood, if he puts together maybe, especially since he's still in his 20s, 5 more seasons that look similar to this and last year, he might go even without a Super Bowl ring. We all think that he will get one. We all think that he will get one, but...
And hope.
Obviously hope, but when you combine last season, the year before, what he's doing this season with the numbers he put up in year 2 and 3 in Los Angeles, he's becoming... and this year's been the culmination of it, a dominant regular season quarterback. I don't think you could quite say that last year and the year before. He was ascending to that, but he has become that this year.
Yeah.
Like an MVP candidate.
He's been a quarterback who we know if he plays clean football, like the Detroit Lions are winning the game.
Yes.
It's been like that. Even in the playoffs, we saw it play out that way as well. And What are you thinking over there, KG? One Jared Goff, man. I just the narratives around him. I'm just hoping that those things are starting to be put to rest.
Yeah, people just get caught up in the stigma of seeing him as a Ram, and that's always been the problem with Jared Goff. People can't get over that vision that Sean McVay gave up on him, and they think, oh, it was his fault. He's broken. I think it's more so Sean McVay's fault because he was trying to fit Jared Goff into a system for a long time, and it did work to a degree. They got to a Super Bowl, but after a certain amount of time and they started losing talent, he expected Goff to fit into what he wanted to do instead of doing what Ben Johnson did and create an offense purely around what your quarterback is good at. And we have seen Jared Goff, since he's become a Detroit Lion, just ascend into an even better quarterback, far better than anything he was with the Rams. And we saw him put up numbers with the Rams. But I think now he's a way better quarterback than what he was back then because of how this offense is catered to him, how he controls this offense. He makes all the checks. He calls the plays. Just the trust that Ben Johnson has in him to go out there and execute a game plan, find flaws in the defense and execute. And he's playing some of his most accurate football. I mean, I haven't even seen a duck in a while. I mean, we used to talk about ducks. Where are the ducks at this season?
They've just been on dots.
They all look like dimes to me.
Dots and dimes.
I'm just
ducks,
saying,
bro.
man. We just got it. When you seeing greatness, sometimes you just got to shut up and give it up, bro. And this is what we are seeing right now. We hope it culminates in the Super Bowl. You don't want it to be for nothing, but I feel confident at the quarterback position for the first time in a very long time. Yeah, and it's good to say that.
And it's not comfortability as it relates to do we have a good quarterback. You're saying this in the context of winning a Super Bowl.
Yes.
Right. And Art Vandelay, Goff's superpower is making this look so easy. People think if you just put in any quarterback back there, they could do the same.
And at this point, as we've talked about, when you're a quarterback like Jared Goff, who has all of the strengths that we laid out before, when you have the kind of continuity, like Jared Goff becomes damn near unstoppable. Ben Johnson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, offensive line running game. And that's not to diminish him. It's just, it's part of his superpower is just making it look. I mean,
how would that been attractive though? Ben Johnson.
It don't seem like he sweats.
Does he even sweat out there?
It don't look like it.
But it's just like
Ben Johnson the whole time looks like he's like at his kid's soccer game.
Yeah,
there's never no stress. Like, oh yeah, we just out here just another trick play and another trick play.
The point is that you can't just plug somebody in there on day one and make it look the same because of the continuity that's been built with Jared Goff being one of the reasons why, with his ability to take in all of the information. I mean, he's one of the smartest players in the NFL. There's no question about it. And I think he's proven that, especially with this season, but even with the last couple.